Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Haley Mitchell Haugen. I am the editor of Sheila-Na-Gig Online and Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. And tonight we are very excited to gather to celebrate the publication of Rikki Santer's collection, Could Be. Love that little guy on the front there. I'm really excited to have Rikki from Ohio reading tonight. And we have a super lineup of Sheila-Na-Gig Editions authors and Sheila-Na-Gig Online authors also sharing a couple of poems tonight. So welcome everybody to that. I'm just going to read a little bit about Rikki's book and give a little sense of her bio and her background here. We don't know her. So a little description of the book. It could be her 15th collection, so super honored to be able to be one of those in that list there. Award-winning poet Rikki Santer takes us on an eclectic journey through the challenges of motherhood, the playful ironies of pop culture, and the current conditions of our country and planet. You all know how that is. With her signature passion for the gymnastics and surprises of language, many of these poems tether onto one another with the positivity of resilience, steadfast belief in a hopeful state of could be. And a little blurb from Carrie Gunter Seymour, our Ohio most recent former poet laureate. Rikki Santer's Could Be is a gusty collection of poems imbued with an artful precision of sophistication and panache. The poems are both intellectually and emotionally stirring, meticulously written, and maybe even more importantly, a much-needed wake-up call from an unbound voice addressing the broken world we all live in right now. A world, quote, lost in the grids of empty faces, the corkscrew of cable news as coral reefs surrender their rainbows and we prepare our farewells to big ice. Plan to sit for a while, reader. You will not be able to put this book down. So that gives you a little bit of taste of one reader's view of the book and our description of the book. But there's nothing like getting into this book itself. Again, those of you who already know Rikki's work know that she's a master of language and surprise. You cannot predict kind of what's coming next in a Rikki Santer's poem. And we had some fun with this book too, and had to like do some sideways poems as well. So if you don't have the book yet, we got some interesting things here. And it's like, nope, we've got to look exactly like it, I envisioned it. So we got a couple that, kind of surprise the reader as well in the way that they're laid out. So it was a fun collection to put together. And I think we got away with it. So a little bit about Rikki, if you're not familiar with her. Rikki Santer's poetry has been published widely and has received many honors, including Pushcart and Ohioana Book Award nominations, support from the Ohio Arts Council and the Greater Columbus Arts Council, and a fellowship from the National Endowment of the Humanities. In 2023, she was named Ohio Poet of the Year, and in 2026, she will be Artist in Residence of the Fran Ryan Center in Columbus, Ohio. She's a member of the Teaching Artists roster of the Ohio Arts Council, the poetry troupe Concrete Wink, and a past vice president of the Ohio Poetry Association. She's published 7 full-length poetry collections and 7 chapbook sequences, exploring such topics as the Hopewell Earthworks of Newark, Ohio, the late Kahiki, I'm not sure if that's right, Supper Club of Columbus, Ohio, the art of ventriloquism, I don't mess that up, the complex world of fashion, and the TV series The Twilight Zone. So when we say Rikki's work is eclectic, you can tell just from some of those collections there. Her collection, Resurrection Letter, dedicated to surrealist artist Leonora Carrington, was grand prize shortlisted for the Eric Hoffer Book Award, and Shepherd's Hour won the Paul Nemser Book Prize from Lilly Poetry Review of Books. Very excited to have you here, Rikki, as we celebrate Could Be. Take it away.
None of my worldlings measure up. No crazy between the ears, no identity pains nailed to my skull, no vicious ideas, no housed rage, no wronged heritage pacing in the wings, no sticky school books flimflammery or swallow-tailed anything, no bruised tongue, no broken drunks, no tracked arms, no shivering in back alleys, no sweaty, I'll kill you if you tell, no bullets, no knives, no fire, flood, blood, fragments of war. No, my fables step back, teetering on the edges of themselves, my small country at the top of the hour. Haley, I wanted to start with thank you. I wanted to start with the prologue of the book. I thought that that was an appropriate place to begin. Haley, thank you so much for inviting me to not only submit a manuscript to you, but your belief, your steadfast belief in it. It was a treat working with you. You are editor supreme. And it's a great opportunity as I'm looking at all these faces on the screen to now be part of the Sheila-Na-Gig family. So thank you for that honor. And I want to thank you for all these gifted poets. I'm looking at you in your little boxes. It's such an honor for me to gig with you tonight. So I'm going to be reading 6 more poems from the collection, and I hope they represent the themes of Could Be. I want to start with childhood Gothic. Down the street where I grew up lived an elderly neighbor who adored bones. Her guest room was a playground for memories of flesh. With death tangy in my mouth, I'd sneak over for lemon bars and the chance to rub my fingers over immortality, caressing its things that could be seen and smelled. Shelves and tabletops were crowded with calcified clocks for time, pelvises in dark patina, platters of teeth or vertebrae, crusted skulls and drop jaw, still life, and swaying in her closet, an odd fellow skeleton I named Stinky Cheese Man after my favorite book. It was there I was schooled in the delights of uncanny and for what's left over when the future comes after you. She'd tell me to listen for angels that come down from the ladders. I'd nod and whisper into every eye hole. Thank you. It's so nice to have applause and pantomime. Thank you. So summer is a time that's really popular for high school reunions. Do any of you go to your high school reunion? No? Okay. Some of you are shaking your head no. This poem's for you. It's called High School Reunion During Jell-O Mold and Cheese Platter. They were dauntless maidens, passing a joint underneath the third-floor bathroom stalls while cackling about a brother who had mooned the truant officer while he was having his Saturday morning coffee at JoJo's Diner. And they were mad lib witty for Miss Bleach Bouffant Jones and Mr. Backfat Williams, whose math classes droned on as they perched on lid-down American standards and reminisced snarky when over the weekend they had taken turns holding back their hair after a parade of Jell-O shots and herbal brownies as they traded neon feather earrings and scenarios for when they would be dazzling mavens with bestsellers and penthouse views. And they made a pact to Farrah Fawcett's senior prom with matching Ray-Bans and show up just with each other, no matter what, because they were virgin princess warriors plotting for more cafeteria table cravings and carvings of dicks and tits, along with the fetal pig snout from biology class that they would slip into Amberlin's vegetable soup, even though they did adore what her weird was. And here's to the Mad Dog Electric Melon in their water bottles before they jammed their protractors in the tampon dispenser. And then so innocent of fragile melancholy, waiting for them in what once was and what might have been. Tonight, lackluster dioramas of middle age, lives deflated and seething in lazy boy recliners. Thank you. This next poem is a Haben. I know most of you here know of that form, the traditional Japanese literary form that combines prose and haiku, at least one haiku. You'll hear, please listen for the haiku at the end of this poem. It's called My Peripatetic Father. I cling to riddled clouds and try to keep up with his unlit cigar, a baton measuring the brisk beat of his gait. On my weekend visit, he's asked me to join him in his 3-mile routine through the neighborhood. It's the easy alphabet of his jokes and his naming of front yard flowers, the Kravitz's snapdragons, his favorite. On the stove back in their apartment kitchen, his tangy compote steeps, and the shopping list on the fridge in his award-winning penmanship curls its tail. The sidewalks are his daily colonnade as he walks off his angst as caregiver for a wife whose legs no longer wanderlust. Today, it's the rainy mist that saturates our joy of being together, his weathered wallet from the war in my back pocket. We stop so he can tell the mail carrier that last night he watched the original The Postman Always Rings Twice on Turner Classics, and we all laugh because there's not a single mail carrier in the story. On the next block, an owl duets with its partner across the ravine. My father takes my hand, winks, and then we both jump into a puddle in the elementary school parking lot. Oh, that daddy of mine who likes frisking when I'm around. We round the last leg of our journey as he offers boss and boyfriend advice. With his arm around my shoulder, we're so far away from that Monday morning phone call about him. Hospital waiting room, code blue over intercom, slow summer rain. Let me take a sip of water if you don't mind. Thanks. This poem is about another family member, my son. It's called Creekside. Your sadness is not mine to possess, but yesterday afternoon you agreed to walk with me into our nearby metro park. In the sunshine, we were fellow adventurers in awe of conventions of gray-headed coneflowers and bees dancing over pink billy buttons. Our back and forth talk, mostly light and warm, but then twice that dark animal inside you with tentacles whipped sharp and bleak. As we headed off the trail, you gently held my hand to steady me down a slope to a wide expanse of creek bed, its rocky floor baked dry. I turned right, drawn to a place where the water gurgled through its tightened throat. You turned left, looking for fossils and what could have been discarded. As you walked beyond me, I watched this handsome son of mine, tall and lean, with long curls, make his way to explore what was ahead of him. The next morning, lined up on my kitchen table, I found 3 tiny shells, no bigger than fingernails, exquisite in their scalloped wonder, having protected a delicate creature for a while. Okay, 2 more poems. Those of you who are counting down. Oh my gosh, we're living in such harrowing times. Um, and I want to present a poem today with what do we do as poets? I mean, all we can do really is to write about it. And with this particular poem, I hope you pick up the movie reference at the end. In June of 2022, we witnessed the overturning of the landmark Roe versus Wade. And then just this April, we witnessed the Voting Rights Act of 1965 gutted. This poem is called Invasive Species. Sometimes a jackass is just a jackass, a president once said when he thought no one was listening. And some say that when God created the world, he dispatched an angel with a sack of fools to distribute one per town. But the harvest of folly seems plentiful these days with its dangerous parable staining. Tiny phones in their back pockets to showcase glowing selfies and toothy tweets. All these Looney Tunes legislators who always have a guy or know where to get one. And they fantasize about winning more epic battles between the us and the them, the want to versus the should haves. Beneath the peel, so many sad bananas waiting for the pratfalls of others. Beneath their blindfolds, they swing hard at political pinatas with tantrums or taketh away. Too late to send them to their rooms to think of what they've done or have them vulcanized when Mars attacks. Their heads brim with knuckles clenched, feverish for playing again and again their most favorite game, capture the flag. And now fat-fingered justices join in. Let me just clear my glasses. Okay. All right, last poem is for all of you who I admire so much. I know the work of many of you, and you know I'm a fan. Okay, so this poem is called Poeming Through. Pitch your tent inside a daydream. Practice walking on stilts through the tidal marsh of your misgivings and unsaids. Toss words deep into dark woods and savor getting lost when you try to follow them. Try to be a garden or a lantern or a rocket for the landlocked and lonely. Limelight that Gordian knot, the statement piece in every room of your memory. Adapt rhythms of sky dancing bats. Prohibit your sonnets from taking too many selfies. Honor the theology of roadkill. Pushpin your line breaks until they surrender to the precision of a preacher's tie or until they sizzle like an ant targeted by sunbeam. Respect the grammar of the weathered banister as you ascend the funhouse. Pluck and rattle the cages of empire. Embroider the tissue of your stanzas with pickup lines for the muse as she finishes her last dirty martini at closing time. Be ready to exile one of your gorgeous moons when your orbit gets too crowded. Admit you can never name all that could be named. Grip the tail as long as you can, but when it moans, uncle, just let go. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Rikki. Great to have this opportunity to hear you read these amazing poems. We got just a small taste tonight, so check out the book. We are celebrating Could Be by Ohio Poet Rikki Santer. So thank you so much, Rikki.
Thank you.
All right, so we were changing gears now into our invited mic portion of the evening. We have a number of Sheila-Na-Gig Editions authors. Those are authors who already have books with us, and a couple who have books coming out pretty soon, and others who are contributors to Sheila-Na-Gig Online, our online journal. And we're going to be kicking off with Betsy Mars in my hometown of Torrance, California. And we haven't announced Betsy's collection yet, but in the next couple of days, we'll be getting that information up online. Her collection, Rue Obscure. So very excited to be offering that from Betsy really soon. So take it away from us, Betsy.
Hi, I'm blown away. Yeah, I'm trying to get my abstract together and I've almost got it. I'm so happy to be here, and I've heard, I know of Rikki, and that was just phenomenal. In fact, I was on there trying to buy your book, but PayPal's not cooperating, but I will buy it. I just love those poems. They were just incredible. And it's funny, one of your poems about your father, and then the banana line in your, I think the second to last poem, maybe. It relates to the first poem I'm going to read. And my father's yahrzeit, the anniversary of his death, is a week from yesterday, so I decided to read one for him. It's called Punchline. Don't buy any green bananas was my father's favorite joke right to the end. He was not one to waste food or emotions. A child of the Depression, his family had time only for the practical. The inside of a banana peel worked for a quick shoe shine, he told me. He stocked up on only what would keep: dry goods, dates, and prunes that I later ingested, choking down his lessons, seeking absolution or a sign, ignoring the banana finally peeking, still hanging from a hook, there in his kitchen, a punchline. My dad had kind of a dark sense of humor and thought everything was that you could joke about basically everything, which was a nice trait of his. And I pretty much agree within reason. And then the other one is sort of, I wrote it for kind of after my stepmother died, but it's really about everybody I've lost, and it's called Ossuary. And both of these poems were in Sheila-Na-Gig Editions online, or Sheila-Na-Gig online. And so Ossuary, all our differences melt, skin stretches and thins, eyes sink, submerge into interior living as the end nears. We are more alike than we seem. Surface immaterial, foundation begins to emerge. What's most solid, more obvious as we get ready to leave our bones behind. Would I recognize you in an ossuary? Would I know myself, you and I, a pair of cast-offs, spirits flown? Thank you.
Okay. Beautiful readings, Rikki and Betsy. Thank you so much. This first poem I'll read is called The Street Where I Lived Before My Divorce. Maybe it was the wide streets, the boxy houses with contrasting trim, every fifth one the same. I could see too far in both directions, unhindered by mountain ash or flowering dogwood shrubs, summer's dry lawns. The cotoneaster's orange berries and hazard light red sumacs were warnings in October. Everything was dead in winter. Mornings, the house was empty. My husband asleep at work or hauling to the hospital a heart attack, diabetic coma, gunshot wound, a staircase fall. Coffee in hand, I looked out the window as the sun rose. Expanse of grass, asphalt street, sidewalk, neighbor's yard and squat rust-colored house. Above the sky, a glistening azure, cloudless. At night, I stood in front of the window, rooms dark behind me, and waited for the phone to ring, to hear the murmur of my husband's voice, to hear he was coming home. But in the silence, an owl's heavy shadow over the moonlit field behind our house, the press of aloneness, all I had until I went to bed with only space beside me. Before him and after, boyfriends who filled so little of me, I needed 2 or 3, all who were nearly the same and no different than the view out my window. Thank you. I just talked to my mom a little bit ago, so it made me think of this poem. So this one's called When My Mother Calls Crying. I hear the cracked way she says my name, as though she's dropped an egg and its center is spilling out. Phonic dysphonia, the doctor said, to explain the wavering break of her words. He told her to sing, to remind her vocal cords they were once flexible. But she won't sing, this mother from whom I learned not to sing, this mother who taught me to paint, to plant, to nurture by being present. In the space between her words is what she doesn't say about me taking my younger brother to chemo. I watch the nurse press needles into his abdomen, watch him fall asleep when the Benadryl takes hold. In that space lives her regret for not leaving her desert home to see her youngest, not caring for him through aging and illness, his and hers. A vice constricts her throat, squeezes the cords, holds back her words, the ones she might shape as carefully as a memory, or she might not say a thing. And I remember how we used to exchange letters when we couldn't talk to one another because the words were too hard to press out of our mouths, too hot, unsingable. They come too late to make absence right. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ann Honaker. I'm going to be reading from my book, Night is Another Realm Altogether. These poems are sort of a before and after. It's about my diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. The first is called We Walk on the Earth. We walk on the earth, and the earth reaches up to feel our footprints. It takes them in, a heartbeat among other heartbeats. I stop, and the fallen leaves cradle my shoe. Leaves cackle when I pass over them. Moss speaks so quietly one would think it mute. I sink down. You and I are fields of energy. Our borders are an illusion. I step among the dappled trees, and I am dappled too. The leaves play a melody over my face. The trees, connected by their root systems, the great being that is the forest, knows that I am here. I like to touch the moss. It is soft and often damp. The earth has grown hair. If I could pull back to the height of the tallest tree, I could see the patterns it makes. I breathe and the trees breathe. We exchange breath. A bird hides itself by hopping to the opposite side of a tree's trunk. It releases its minute peep, calling down the mountain instead of up. I am on the mountain's backbone. It sighs and the trees vibrate, almost unnoticeably. The little bird is the universe. The bird and I aren't on opposite sides of a tree. The tree, the bird, and myself are one. Last year, the neighboring mountain caught on fire. The fire, like a ghost, could not cross the river, but the other mountains felt the heat, and the whole forest trembled. I become one with the earth I walk on. Our energies touch and merge. Language collapses. This one is called Not a Poem. It's 50 degrees in February. I used to fade into the forest given such a chance. I'd soften and mellow, sat on a rock, gazed into the tassel of trees hanging on a steep grade, and no matter how perpendicular, they always point up. There's no upside to this now. I stumble into a wall when I try to walk, rest my forehead there, gather my heaps of no and can't and shouldn't. I shouldn't need to settle for the sun sloshed across the chair, settle and just sit there. I close my eyes, reach for but can't find warmth. I tell myself, this is what you have now, and remember this. Instead, I remember moving through bands of light unseen, quiet as a deer through the trees. Once a deer walked with me through the path-side leaves, no fear. A thin string of camaraderie connected us, a thimbleful of togetherness. Do I expect to take this chair, momentarily splashed in sunset, for an equal to that? To watching a tufted titmouse release its tiny peep and hearing it spread through the trees, fill a whole mountain? The dog sighs, bored. This should be a poem, I tell myself, but really, it can't be. Thank you.
I think I'm next. These are two Sheila-Na-Gig poems. One I think is the latest edition, and then the next one is the forthcoming one. Late Day Request. From wherever lost lingers, come, dip your hands in those waters and bring them to my face, the cool of palms brushing across my aging cheeks and brow. What do you know of age or fear or language, except what you found without me, somewhere in the long ago, around the bend from here, before we forgot to remember, slick with the river's scent, that we'd forgotten what we called out to each other, drifting too fast and far to bring the other one home. Come close, say it now. And then the second one is called How It Happens. And we all know the story of someone. Was it you, standing in bright sunshine, calmly looking up when 10 steps away, rain attacked the sidewalk, shooting up to strike the ankles of any bystander? In such scenarios, it is always summer, the drops warm and miraculous, the dark cloud just a small patch pasted over a sea blue sky. Or maybe it was, after all, the other way round. Someone, was it me, shocked into stillness as slanted rain streamed down forehead, cheeks, chin, chest, and onto toes, while 6 steps to the side, all remained remarkably dry. But this time, this year, everything is winter storm, as cold as wet can get without freezing, as bold as fear can thunder without pausing, tsunami crashing up and over the roofs. No doves sent out, no doves returning. And this, after all, is the only story, the one that ends, the end. 2 cheery poems.
Okay. If I remember right, it's me after Marjorie. And I'm reading 2 poems from my new book that just came out in June. It's called My Father's Sky. And this poem is called In Celebration of Solitude. There exists a secret pleasure when night threads its yarn through the eye of silence, when you drink solitude as a hummingbird would taste the sugar of its favorite flower, as when the bee, exhausted, falls asleep in a rose. Solitude's kindness envelops the bearer like a down-filled comforter, like invisible hands stroking your face, as insubstantial as a dandelion seed resting briefly on your cheek. Solitude's kindness, you can smell the moss, the mold, the ants, the time of day. You hear the small voices of the moths so desperately calling to the light. Your tongue glories in the last drop of rainwater falling from the heavy-grained fingers of a tall pine, and your eyes penetrate the mists rising from the moorland. You lie back against the tree, safe in the knowledge that you are responding to the breathing of the living earth. And the other one is called I'm Tired of Waiting. Excuse me. My appointment with the cardiologist is in my agenda for 11. At 12 o'clock, I'm beginning to understand the attraction of playing a game on the smartphone. I'm sick of waiting for that one honest answer, the one knowledgeable, wise, thoughtful answer to my eternal question, what am I doing here? Here in the subtropics, I'm no longer waiting for autumn to announce the gentle death of winter, for spring to sing with the first green shoots. Getting used to eternal bougainvillea, I almost forgot about carpets of dying leaves or of the soft dew of a new beginning. Feel the rot present in the fat bud of that first rose. One day soon, I will close my eyes because I'll be too tired to keep them open, and I'll be waiting for the miracle to begin. Thank you.
Hi all, wonderful evening. I'm going to read, these kind of go out to Rikki because I know she likes to write ekphrastic poems, and the first time I met her was at an ekphrastic workshop that the OPA hosted. So this one's got a quotation from Georgia O'Keeffe as an epigraph, plus it has a little quotation in the middle of the poem as well from her. So I'll kind of pause so you can tell. It's called Coping with Awe. And the quote from Georgia O'Keeffe is, "You wouldn't always see it that way, but I just happened to see it with a bite out of it." Georgia O'Keeffe, New York City, 1926. There are moments in the city when buildings part to let the light come through. This can happen, say, on a winter's afternoon just before sunset, when the sun slants eastward from the river and blazes in the glass and steel. I can mistake my own direction, forget where the Shelton building is, find myself at the Flatiron instead. I watch the narrow widen, the low arc of brilliance rising, a corona that anyone who dares can wear, sunspots rising like living orbs. And then I hear the men talk of writing the great American novel, painting the great American painting, but they don't see what I see. They only use their eyes. What about 10,000 eyes staring into 10,000 suns, each biting away blackness and steel, the master work of all proud masters obliterated? No other way but to paint it, then, nothing left to do but leave them to their squabbles. The language of the world is not the same as the language of the heart. I will never stop trying to translate it. I will follow the light. That poem was written, an ekphrastic poem written for the painting in 1926, called The Shelton with Sunspots. And here's another poem that goes out to Rikki. It's called How Many Zithers? And the zither is a musical instrument. The poem describes what it looks like. "Do you want the zither?" my brother asks, and I say yes, because it was Mom's. It hung on the wall in the living room in Queens with me for my entire childhood. I thought I'd learn to play, but I couldn't get past the tuning. About 40 strings, twangy to tingly, toll painted, gold highlights, matte black, harp-shaped, small enough to strum on a lap. I once asked for help at Blue Eagle Music, but no one there had ever played a zither. I wonder how many zithers are in Athens County. I can't part with it, but I've placed it deep into the bedroom closet. behind the oversized luggage, the clothes that are just too city. Somehow the word zither reminds me of Yiddish, of times I've thought, but not deployed, klutz, schlemazel, bupkis. I still don't know what to hold on to. When I jostle through boxes, no one hears the zither play but me. Thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie. That was wonderful. Thank you, Haley, as always, for giving us this wonderful space for sharing poetry. And of course, thank you, Rikki, for the suitcase full of magic and music. Very enjoyable reading. The first poem I'm going to read for you tonight is from my latest book, which, amazingly enough, was brought forth by Haley and Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. The book's called Shaking Music from the Angry Air. And this poem is called Tom's Celebrity Cruise. You leave your pants in Venezuela, a gift to some come-lately soap opera star. Your Zen waist trousers end up in a TV commercial, opposite an old girlfriend. Serena, or Jaren maybe, technically stretched between business and pleasure. Your new girlfriend makes love because there's no rapture for the wicked. Sundays, you do it on the rooftop with a New York Times and an orange juice. It's a predilection for bipolar barmaids with Vegas showgirl cousins that drugs you. Mermaids singing through sharks' teeth. Tomorrow you'll board ship for Costa Rica. Luggage lighter, colonialist prick a compass to even saltier melody. The closer you get to the US, the more you screw like a maniac fist. Okay, and thank you. And this next one is a forthcoming poem entitled Sorry to Say. Along the riverbed, winds divertimentos, and blue Mojave aster waft in fresh horse shit. And my mare whinnies, my hands on her reins, muscle older now, us unsteady at times. We have blooms yet to see, angry rains to sandbag when waters rise. We are ribs in the body of earth, boards in her steeple. One day, the ripeness of the grape will be sucked dry, and this sun of lemon and almond and scarlet trout, of gnat and city dust and shrunken flesh will fly apart. Our molecules glorified by fire. It will be as if love had never existed. Thank you.
I know I'm next. I was having trouble unmuting. I'm sorry. I'm hitting the wall here. It's been so wonderful hearing everyone read, and Rikki, I can't wait to get your new book. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to read the first poem I'm going to read was from the summer edition of Sheila-Na-Gig. I'm starting to write a lot about I'm married to a Chinese man, so just being in a relationship with someone from such a different culture. And this poem is really about kind of the it was difficult to gain acceptance from his parents. So this is in the beginning. So this is called Telling His Parents. When my ripe belly filled my striped overalls at 6 months, I begged my love to tell his parents. When he told them 2 years earlier we wanted to marry, they squawked. When you choose a woman, they said, she must be at least 5 years younger. Can she still have children? Not a wing beat of, she is not Chinese, or did he spare me? No, no women like me posed in the photos where they paused to ask their son, what about this one? When we first met at the Yum Yum, his father asked, "What's wrong with moving to your own hometown?" This on the night of bursting seams. "Can you sew?" his mother asked. "Can you cook?" The dumpling turned in my oven. When we left the restaurant, my love nodded, "Soon, I promise," and took my hand. After night shifts in the hospital, hovering over sick kids in the PICU, I collapsed and slept all day in my love's nest. When he finally delivered the news to his parents, his mother called my name into the empty house. She stood at the threshold and chirped, "We're happy about you. We want you to know we're happy about you and the baby." Thank you. And this next poem is the first sonnet in a Heroic Crown forthcoming next spring. And what kind of spurred this poem was kind of reflecting on this artifact I've carried with me for, I was just thinking about it. I think it's 45 years now I've had this. It's a German cake tin, and that's the title of the sonnet, The German Cake Tin. When fear leaves the walls of my body, Mr. Smith's cake tin, like my breath, will end in another corner. I held his hand, sat while he lay dying on Christmas Eve, a young nurse and an old man with no family. What do you say to a dying man? I admired his cake tin, embossed gold and parchment, painted with a medieval scene. From Germany, he said. A woman gifted him during the war. Do you want it? He asked. On the subway home, the cake tin floated in glass. Years passed, alone, then married, grown children gone afar. The now dented tin pretends my own collapse. By then, I shall be on my last. That's it. Thank you.
I had an idea of what I was going to read, but Bonnie's zither changed my mind. So I'm going to read a poem. The title is a quote attributed to Czeslaw Miłosz. Language is the only homeland. And then I'm proud to be a Sheila-Na-Gig author. So this is from my collection, Slag. Thank you. Did I expect Poland to welcome me into her fold? That I could translate train announcements because I carried memories of butter shellacked pierogi glistening on my plate next to glumpki, with cabbage leaves tucked tight like hospital corners around beef and rice. Instead, I wander village to village, a common tourist, eating ice cream and asking for the bathroom with my third generation lexicon. I make eye contact like an orphan, as if some babsha tottering home with market bag handles hewing grooves into her hands will recognize the green in my eyes. Divine Sylvie's girl, pass me her burden and show me home. In her kitchen, she nestles beets, each a solidified heart, into my hand. We drink borscht from jelly jars, chatter about the neighbor's cats and the square's fountain, still dry. When her husband returns from work, he won't be surprised to see me at the sink, feet bare on the braided rug, tossing buttered noodles, waiting for my attic room to air out. Thank you. And then I too chose an ekphrastic poetry piece to read in honor of Rikki's launch, with apologies to Ellen, who just heard this poem on Sunday. Circe Mulling Wine, by artist Giacomo Cometti, Asierdo, 1630. Stirring, 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 as women always are. Circe grips the glowing poker in the silver tureen of wine deftly, more like a baton between thumb and forefinger. Her left hand pauses aloft as if holding an orchestra at rest. A ruby draws the gaze to the center of her belt, wide as it is golden, part armor, part trophy. Beside her, open mouthed in an Olympic cheer, a winged nymph forms the handle of an urn, urging the goddess to her work. Together they perfect the potion to turn men into pigs, plotting, 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 as women always are. Exaliando. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aimee, for wrapping us up. And thank you to all of our invited mic readers and to Rikki Santer for being our feature tonight, celebrating her Sheila-Na-Gig Editions collection. Could be. So happy to have you all here. A couple of announcements. We don't have a reading on next week, but on the 20th, Ann Honaker already shared a couple poems from her book from Sheila-Na-Gig. So that'll be Ann tonight to give us a little more in-depth taste of Night is Another Realm altogether. So I hope you'll all come back on the 20th and support Ann. And I'm also plugging Amplify. Amplify is now printing. This is our collection celebrating the work of poets of color. Very excited to have this one out in the world, edited by Toledo, Ohio poet Sandra Rivers Grill. So I'll be getting a ton of these landing on my doorstep very soon. 76 authors throughout the United States and abroad, a number of other countries represented here. So very excited. So help support this expensive baby and order a copy today if you can. I appreciate it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. You can find all of our books and our online journal at SheilaNagigblog.com. Thanks for coming.